guys, Kat here. Welcome back to my channel. And a topic that I want to talk about today is the top books on veganism, on a plant-based diet, that have really allowed me to get a grasp on what it's all about, why I want to be doing it, what kind of benefits could it have to my body, the planet, the animals. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to give you, first of all, my top 3, starting from the first book that I read that made me decide to go vegan in the first place. So that book is The China Study. I don't have it with me right now. I know it's somewhere here amongst the farm of Kanekiki, but I can't seem to find it. I think somebody has it. It's a book by Dr. T. Campbell, and he does a fantastic job laying out and explaining in a way that I think most people can understand. It's a very easy read, and it's about a large-scale study that he does in China. Originally wanted to prove that dairy was this very nutrient-dense food and that it could be very good for healing, but he ended up finding out the opposite, that it was very inflammatory. So it's interesting because in his original story, he grew up on a dairy farm and he ended up becoming a scientist, and he found out that it was really quite the opposite. Then the rest of the book, he goes through studies and he dedicates his life towards proving that a plant-based diet works really well and it's really anti-inflammatory, and it is the key to avoiding most diseases, all the big ones like cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, obesity, risk of getting a stroke. That book really made me realize that if I wanted to lead a healthy, good life, then eating a plant-based diet was the way to go. And I'm very glad that I came across it, because after reading that book when I was 17 in high school, I decided to give up animal products and to take on a whole food, plant-based diet. And I have no regrets. That's the #1 book that I recommend for people who just want to understand why vegan works so well. And there's many different kinds of vegan. There's the junk food vegan who's living off of Oreos, because technically that's vegan, and eating lots of oils and lots of salt, eating a lot of store-bought veggie patties, for example. And then you got the vegan who's like a whole food vegan, and then you got like a raw vegan, and then you got the fusion in between. There's so many options. So I feel like this book is just a great place to start, because no matter what, you'll understand what are the factors that cause disease within the body and how to just make sure that the majority of your life is full of energy and you're avoiding the big diseases, and educate other people in conversation. So The China Study by Dr. T. Campbell is the #1 book about veganism that I recommend. It's very well done, easy to read, and it's a bunch of studies. There's no biases in it. It's straight to the point. The second book that I recommend for those who are interested in either leaping into more of the subject of plant-based diet, veganism, or possibly you're getting more interested in raw foods, is this book right here. Can't really see it. It's the 80-10-10 Diet by Douglas Graham. This book is so good. This is the second book that I also happened to read when I was in high school, and it basically covers how fruits and vegetables in their raw state is really all you need to get the majority of your nutrients. It also covers nutrients like iodine and B12 that could be harder to get on a fruit-based diet, but he explains why that is and why you don't have to rely on animal products for that. He also goes on to describe how humans are designed to eat mostly fruit. Now at this point in my life, actually, I have been eating a very heavy fruit-based diet for the past 7 years, because this is one of the first books I started off, and I'm very glad because I feel tremendously healthy. I feel so good. The clearest my skin has ever been. I've had the most energy. My mind has been most clear. My productivity has been fantastic, and it's all very, like, what I'm basically doing on an intuitive level is what this book is explaining is designed for the human body, what we're meant to. So it goes a little bit into, let me see if I can find for you. Actually here, but it goes into like how much fruit do I need to eat? It goes into what kind of nutrients are high in what fruit. So like omegas 3, 6, 9. It goes into proteins, it goes into minerals and vitamins. What you have to look out for, what resources are good. There's some recipes in the back of the book, has a glycemic index and what you really want to be paying attention to according to that. It goes into a lot of comparisons of what we would consider like the standard American food versus fruits, and how we're getting a lot more out of fruits. It even compares some healthy foods to fruits and how we're getting a lot more out of fruits. And it goes into how it's important to keep your fat content relatively low, which is something that I'm actually experimenting with right now. When I go back home to the Chicago area, I plan to experiment more with not necessarily fats, but adding more greens and protein into my diet, because I haven't done that for a very long time, but keeping it raw, mostly raw. Yeah, so even though I may not be following the guidelines of this book all the time 100%, it's always something that I know I could fall back onto and that would work really well for me, because I have experimented long term with it and it's worked fantastic. So a very important theme also following in this book is how eating too much fat, and I'm not even talking about animal-based fat, like lard, but just like nuts and seeds and avocados, how that could also impair our body and could cause irritation and become a hurdle for our body to heal a bit more efficiently and faster. Fat thickens up the bloodstream, and which means less oxygen for healing to go to our brain to make our body more efficient at what it could be doing. Because it's really our bodies that heal and not the foods. Our foods just, it's a matter of which foods are least likely to get in the way and what nutrients our bodies need in order to utilize its fullest healing potential. 80-10-10, great book. Even if you don't follow it to a T, just understanding that like raw foods are very powerful or very healing, and it's what we're designed to eat, will bring you to beautiful, tremendous places. My life has completely flipped. Complete 180 from where I was before I read this book. I am after all of my dreams and I'm catching them relatively quickly. I'm very happy. It's because I believe it's the power of raw foods that were the gateway into my happiness, that I am just this happiness ride that I keep excelling faster and faster on. Okay, good book. The third book that I would recommend is called The Live Food Factor. The whole entire book, what she does, the author, she constructs a bunch of testimonials and studies about raw foods, hence Live Food Factor. And she doesn't just take one point of view. She takes, for example, from the 80-10-10 diet, there's a small segment about that, but she takes these studies and these other books and she says, in this point of view, this is what it's like, and in this point of view, in so-and-so's point of view, this food is really good for this, and in this so-and-so's point of view, like, you should avoid this food because of this. So it's great for people who I think are more advanced in wanting to explore the raw food realm, and now maybe they are trying to find those little nitpicky things, like for example fat content, how much water to drink, like how many greens to eat, like how much cooked to eat if they want to eat cooked. Just really good for a broad point of view, and it's really fun to play with as well. And she brings up a lot of really good points that I didn't think about before I read that book. She goes into how a lot of people testimonials of many individuals who have lost a lot of weight, have cured cancer, have cured many different kinds of diseases through using raw foods, and she goes into how they did that. She covers also topics like juice fasting, I think regular fasting, herbs, the whole spectrum of holistic health is covered in that book, so I give it 2 thumbs up. It's just so wide, it's so vast and rich in information. So there's a few other books that I would like to recommend, but they are not in my top 3. I think if you have these 3 that I recommended and you have if you've read the top 3 that I mentioned, I feel like you'll have enough information the rest of your life to play with in terms of healthy nutrition and just excel from there. But if you want to accent your knowledge about this subject, here are some other ones that I have enjoyed. So I have to say, Fully Raw Christina, she does have her YouTube channel, which is really popular. Her recipes are fantastic. I haven't found one yet that I have disliked, and whenever I'm going to some kind of event or a party and I know that there's going to be a lot of people there who eat a standard diet, I want to show them like that it could be really delicious and not only healthy. Her book is fantastic. She does a lot of mixtures between smoothies and gourmet foods. and she tries to keep it relatively low fat and low salt, which is really cool. So see, she has like this chili recipe. She has like this really good buffalo, she calls it buffalo wings, barbecue wings, and me and my boyfriend have done it before. It came out really good. It's cauliflower, and then you blend up the sauce with all these vegetables, pour it on top, and stick it in the dehydrator. Oh, it was so good. So that's an example of a snack or a meal you may want to bring to a party, or if you just want to be fancy, maybe you just love cooking and you like challenging yourself. Eat to Live is also really good. It has a lot of research to back it up, and I think if you're trying to lose weight and maybe if you have some food addictions, this is a great place to start. Pretty useful. So you can see here how like eating lots of oil, very little nutrients in oil, and it won't make you feel very full, so it's so easy to gain weight from that. And then chicken, not much better, not that many nutrients in it, no fiber, won't really fill you up. But plants, 400 calories of plants fill you up. It's the formula for weight loss. Not only that, once you lose the weight, to just keep you in shape forever. Ooh, a book that's really good, you can find it as a PDF online, and I know you could also get it on Amazon, is Books by Arnold Arendt. Some people call him the father of fruitarianism. He discovered raw foods through getting rid of Blight's disease. He healed his disease through fasting, and after fasting he went on a fruit-based diet. He has an autobiography and he has multiple books, I think 3 or 4, and you can find them online, and he goes into depth about his journey through raw foods, and it's so cool. He goes out like on a long adventure with his I guess you kind of call him like an apprentice, and his apprentice had a horrible stutter, and he ended up curing it through monomealing either on prunes or grapes, and then he ended up healing a lot of his issues and getting rid of his stutter, which is remarkable. The book, even though it was written quite long ago, is very easy to read, and I think anybody who is just fascinated on not only just modern day raw foods, but long ago, like raw foods is not new. This is something actually a wave. It goes through waves, and it's now back being popular. And since then, we've been riding on another wave, and hopefully the wave will stay there, and eventually what raw foods are, raw food diet and veganism, and eventually we'll adapt to whole plant-based diet, and that'll be really cool. So if you want to know more about its roots and what kind of point of views and experiments were done back in the day on it, I recommend Books by Arnold Arendt. He does have some point of views, I just want to warn you, that are obviously incorrect. Nowadays we know is something that cannot be a fact, but I also think the time period is something to take into consideration and acknowledge that you yourself don't know everything, and that it's also quite possible that there's something that we're going to find out later on in the future, humanity, like a century from now, and be like, a century ago, how did they not know that? Ignorant people. You can't possibly know everything, so just keep that in mind reading this book, and you'll see that if you put that aside, he does know tremendously a lot. He was way ahead of his time. You could hear his excitement when he's writing and journaling about the discoveries he's finding when he's curing his diseases and helping other people and opening clinics, and ended up teaching about raw foods, about healing with natural hygiene and using fasting and juice fasting and monomealing. He was apparently looking fantastic very young. He ended up looking very old in the beginning and then aging to the point where he looked younger. And I heard 2 stories. Either it was oil that he slipped on, or that it was a snowy day and there was ice and he slipped on the curb and he like hit his head, and he ended up dying from that. Some other people would say it's a conspiracy theory, but point being is this perfectly healthy dude, and who knows what he could have discovered later on in his life, just, slipped on a curb and died. So it just goes to show you that you need to relish every day and that your health isn't everything. It's a good goal to always be focusing on, to always be enhancing and discovering more about, but one day you are going to die no matter how healthy you are. That's my uplifting message for the day. So that's it, guys. Those are my books that I have recommended. I feel like there's actually so much more that I can't really just think of right now. If you have any books that you're interested in that you really like that has been about healthy eating, comment below. I'm really curious. I'm always up to reading more books, especially on health. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribed. My channel is very much focused on health and personal development and travel. Good things for the soul. Alright, I'll see you next time. Ciao.